Hey, how's it going? My name is Camargo Valentino. I'm an artist, and this is going to be my first YouTube video. In this YouTube video, I'm going to show you how I did this painting. This painting here of Frankenstein. I'll have clips of it showing from the beginning, where it was a blank canvas, where I started drawing it, and I started using some markers, and then I went over with acrylics, and then finally oil. So what I'm going to try to do next is I'm going to try to do another work of art in the style of Basil Gogos. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Here's a book on his work. He's an artist that did a lot of cover artwork for Warren magazine, famous monsters magazines in the 60s, 70s, and he's a great artist. A lot of you who are familiar with Universal Monsters already know who he is, but he has a lot of very good artwork based on Universal Monsters. Alright guys, so right here, as you can see, I started to sketch out with Prismacolors. I usually use Prismacolors for the sketch just because I like the way they're soft, not as hard as pencils, and it's easier on canvas, or in this case, canvas panel. But I started noticing that I was taking too long and I was putting too much detail into it like I usually do, and I was trying to avoid that. So what I decided to do was I had these new markers, and sometimes I do this with alcohol markers. These markers are Cali art markers I had just gotten, so I started using them. I got out two colors, a darker gray and a lighter gray, and I just decided to start doing the sketch out with these markers just because they cover more ground faster, and they also dry real fast. They're dry within a couple of seconds, and they don't smear either. So I just felt comfortable enough where I could start doing the layout, this sketch with these markers, especially since I already had something underneath. As you can see, the color and the Prismacolor, I already had somewhat of a little sketch of what I wanted to do, so I felt comfortable enough to go ahead and start using these. And for the dark parts, as you can see, the eyes, the nostrils, I used the darker color, the darker gray. And you'll see here in a little bit where I start using the lighter gray for the midtones. Wherever I saw midtones, I would use the lighter gray. So just two colors. Right here, as you can see, I'm already using the lighter one. For the hair, where I know it's going to be black, the eyes, like I said, that's where I go with the darker ones. And for the lightest parts in the paintings, the highlights, I just leave it alone, and I just use the canvas as a guide, since it's lights. So you get three tones. You get your light from the canvas, you get your midtones, and then you get the darker part for the darker marker. And that's what I use for this. I just felt like it would go faster. You can use whatever you like. If you feel more comfortable with pencil or charcoal, whatever, that's completely up to you. But in this case, I just felt like markers would be a lot faster, and I felt comfortable enough to use them. So I've been using markers for a while already. I just feel like they're faster. You can get going a lot faster with them, especially as they dry right away. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you this part, the drawing, where I just laid it out with markers. And here right now I'm already finishing, and I'm going to start applying some acrylics. Also, one more thing, acrylics, they cover the markers up. When you put acrylics on top of the markers, it covers them up. There was times before where I went straight with oils and the markers came through, so be careful with that. So I do the markers, then I do acrylics, and then on top of that I do oils. So this is part of my process, and maybe you can get something from it. This is the final sketch here. Alright guys, so I have a whole bunch, I have a bucket full of old acrylics that I don't really use. I've had them for years, These are mostly used just to put the foundation down, and I'm mostly an oil painter. But for this Frankenstein piece, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take some of these acrylics, and I'm gonna start picking out my colors, and I'm just gonna start laying them out here, and then I'm going to start and lay the colors down, whatever colors I feel will go best with this painting. I don't know yet exactly what colors I'm gonna pick yet, so I'm gonna have to start going through them and then just make a choice on what colors will look best. Alright, so here's where we start jumping in right into the acrylics. After picking out my colors, I laid them out. Limited palette, but I go right into it. Light colors, the blue, the darker colors are gonna be black. And I just go into it knowing that I'm gonna use a certain color on top of that acrylic that's gonna be very similar to it. Right here through this video, I'm going pretty fast because, like I said, it takes a long time to do this. This underpainting probably took me, for the face, it probably took me a good hour and a half. It takes a while. The good thing about acrylics is they dry real fast, so you can paint over them without having to worry too much about picking up what's underneath. So that's the good thing about acrylics. And like I said, also acrylics are good because they cover up the alcohol markers if you decide to go that route, like I did. It covers it up so you don't have to worry about that coming through, and it's a good guide for where you're going to put your darker colors and your lighter colors. So this is the way I go about doing paintings some of the time, not always. Sometimes I go straight with oil if I want it, if I know that I want to take more time with it. You know, oils take a lot longer to dry, so if you're going to give it a couple of layers of oil paint, you know, it's okay for you to take your time. When I want to move through something a lot faster, I do it this way with the acrylics as my underpainting. So as you can see, the acrylics are going to be also a guide for the oils. Where the lighter colors are at, that's where my lighter oils are going to be, and the darker parts, that's where my darker oil colors will be. So it's all a guide for me to be able to come over with the oils. This is what I consider the block in the way that I paint. I call this the block in. My lighter colors go on one spot, the darker colors go on the other spot. And some people will consider this more of a finished painting, but for me, I use it as a block in because I know that I'm still going to go over it with oils with a lot of detail. And I try to get as close to the oils, the oil colors that I'm going to use as I can, so that for example, on the pink, I use pink acrylic, and then I'm going to use pink oil on top of it. There's a lot of ways of doing this. Some people use different colors. They'll use like a yellow underneath and then put a totally different color on top because they say that it helps a certain color come through. I don't do that route. I try to stick with the same tones. But again, everybody, you know, it's everybody's preference of what they want to do. On the background, same thing. I just go real fast, just try to lay some color out. Try not to worry about it too much. Eventually I'm going to come over it with the oils with whatever color I really want. This is just the base, and when it comes to the oils, that's when I'll take a little bit more of my time with it. Alright, so I just wanted to give you a quick update on the painting that we're doing. This is where I'm at so far as the Frankenstein painting that I'm trying to do in this style of Brazil Go-Go's. So all this is acrylic, and it's just a quick thing. It probably took maybe an hour and a half of this. So this is my underpainting, and now the hard part comes whenever it's time to start putting in the oils. That's the part that takes a lot of time, That's the part that you have to put the detail, and that's the part that really makes it come out. The oil painting, this looks nothing like what the oil painting is going to look like when it's done. This is just, the underpainting is quick, it's fast, and hopefully it'll be a good painting by the time it's done. Anyways, this is just a piece of regular, I think I got this at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, I'm not sure. It's just a regular piece of canvas on a cardboard panel, and this probably costs, you can buy a set of 3 or 5. This probably costs like $10, something like that, for 3 or for 5, something like that. I'm not sure, but anyways, that's what this is on. Alright, so as you can see, I have my painting on the easel ready to go, and a couple of things that I have, the way that I do things is I always have reference. So I have an image of the Bazil Gogo's Frankenstein that inspired this piece that I really want to try to learn from and try to see if I can come up with something as great as that. Probably won't be able to do it, but it's always good to try to learn from the artists that you admire. And so that's why I have that for reference, so I can look at how he applies paint and how he blends his colors, and I'll try to do that in my own style. I also have, I don't know, this little, I got a little piece of glass, and I just put some of the colors that I need in there. I just picked some, nothing specific, just purple and some blues, some greens in there. Like I said, I'm just gonna wing it. I'm just gonna go with it, and I don't know exactly what I'm doing because there's nothing really that I'm really following. I'm just trying to do just experimenting and see what comes out. And I always have a laptop, and I always have, I don't know if you can see here, I always have some reference there. I also have pictures of the image. The set of brushes here and my little brush stand. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of my setup, and about to get started. So here's where we finally start with the oil paint. Like I said before, I'm using the acrylic paint underneath as a base for my oils and as a guide. So as you can see right here, above the eyes is where the light's hitting. So I decided to use a light blue, a light pink. So as my guide, I'm also getting the same kind of color, same tones and oil, and going over with that. Everything that I see that's green or blue or purple or whatever it is underneath as from the acrylics, I'm now going to use that as a guide for my oil. Another thing that I forgot to share with you is how I went about preparing the canvas panel. I usually work with acrylic paint. I give it 3 coats of acrylic paint, and then since I was going to paint directly with acrylics first, it works just fine. If I was going to paint straight with oils, I probably would have gave it a coat of gesso, but in this case, since we were going with acrylics before the oils, that works just fine. I've always done it like that, and it's always worked for me. It's just another tip from me to you. Alright, so as you can see, I already started applying some oil to this painting, and what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to do my light colors in a light blue. I still want to keep a little bit of the green of the original Frankenstein look, but I'm also trying to put some more fluorescent colors in here, like in the lips, a little bit of purple, blue, here in the lighter spots. I'm gonna try to mix in some magenta, some light pink in there, and I'm just starting to lay out color already. But like I said, I'm also trying to mix different colors into it, so it's not your typical skin tones. And I'm already seeing the background is gonna have to be changed. I'm gonna have to do lighter up here so that it stands out against the black of the hair, and darker over here where the lighter skin tones are gonna be, so that it stands out more. Little things like that you just have to try to catch in your paintings, that you need to tweak so that it makes it stand out more. So I just want to show you a little bit of the process of where it's at right now. This is probably maybe like an hour worth of applying oil paint, and I'm gonna get back into it and try to do some more. And it's just something that you have to build up over time. You put a layer down, you go to another spot, and then you come over it again once it starts drying. And then eventually it's like you're mixing the tones on the paint, because this oil doesn't dry right away. So you keep, some of it will dry, some of it won't, and you just keep adding on top until you kind of like, it's like a sculpture, until you get it to where you're happy with it. At least that's how I work. So anyways, this is where we're at so far, and we'll keep working on it. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself as an artist. I've been painting since the year 2000, so 24 years now. Self-taught mostly. Everything that I've learned has been through trial and error, you know, just looking at books, reading books, trying to watch, not so much videos, because when I started there wasn't the videos on YouTube that teach a lot now, weren't around then. So a lot of it was just trial and error, just doing it yourself. And you know, I remember when I first started, I didn't know anything about painting art at all. You know, I just bought myself a first set of paints. There were some Bob Ross set of paints, and looked at some Bob Ross books, and I just tried to learn from that. And then slowly I just kept buying books, and I always had a fascination with the masters, with Rembrandt, Velázquez, those type of painters. And I did a lot of studies, a lot of copies, trying to teach myself how to paint like those guys, because I thought, you know, I still think they're the greatest painters. So that's how I've been able to teach myself, and constantly, still to this day, always doing studies, always practicing. And recently I started doing Comic-Cons, so I started doing more pop artwork that a lot of the people there seem to like. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm doing a lot of this type of pop culture artwork, horror art, because I do Comic-Cons and horror cons. So that's where I'm at right now, but it's fun. So anyways, I wanted to just share that with you. Okay, so as you can see right now, I've done a little bit, I've been able to get some work done on this painting here. Right now, I'm almost done with the face as far as what I think I'm happy with. As you can see, this ear right here still needs to be worked on. Maybe from a distance it's hard to tell. I just finished this ear right here, started working on it a little bit. This one's still kind of rough, I need to work on that one. But I'm deciding to throw a little bit of the background color into it. I'm not thinking too much about the background. I just know that I want some purple and yellow in there, some violet. So I'm just mixing colors together and just throwing them on there, not really being too precise with it. It's just, I think sometimes I've noticed that some paintings, when you're loose with it, the background, it just works. Plus most of the emphasis is going to be on the actual figure itself, on the face. The background, it just helps to pull the viewer's eyes towards the emphasis, the portrait in this case. But you also want to push the viewer's eye towards it. This is the reason why I'm using, the background was a little darker at first. Oh, right here, as you can see the sides, the camera's kind of low. It was darker here, so I had to make it a little bit lighter so that the black of the hair could stand out against. You don't want a dark background to clash with the hair, and then you can't tell what's what. and down here is a little bit lighter, so I'm trying to make this purple color a little bit darker down here, so that when I do the ear and it's a little lighter, the dark of the purple color will make it stand out. And at the bottom here, where his coat's gonna be a little dark blue or something, brown, whatever, I put a little bit of yellow so that that can contrast against the coat. So you're always trying to find, at least not always, but in this case, I decided to do that with this painting as far as the background contrasting the colors to make one stand out against the other. But anyways, as you can see, I'm just laying color down. I'm not trying to be too smooth or clean with it, but it works sometimes. Depending on the painting. I mean, everybody has their own idea of how they want their painting to look, but in this case, I think for me, I think it works as far as just putting strokes in there and just trying to be a little loose with it. And I just keep going over and over it until I'm happy with it. Here a little darker because it's on the outskirts, but like I said, nothing fancy, nothing too much to it. Just get in there and work it, and just blend it until you feel comfortable with what you see, what you like. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep working on it until I feel comfortable with it, and just go back and forth. Anyways, I just wanted to show you a little bit as I was blending the backgrounds and explain to you a little bit about that. Alright, so my lighting's off right now because I have to turn the camera at a certain angle, and I have to turn off the light. So I'm a little bit in the dark right now, but I wanted to try to show you a little bit of how I would go about doing a painting, doing a little bit of the painting, because I know I'm skipping around a lot. So let's go for this ear real quick, and I'm gonna try to go as fast as I can just to show you what I would do. So you can't see the picture that I'm looking at because I'm looking at a photograph of the original image off my laptop. That's what I usually work off, the laptop. But I'm gonna try to follow it to the best of my ability. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm going with the black, and again I'm painting in the dark here. It's tough because I don't have the correct lighting on here, but I'm doing it so that I can try to show you how to go about blending. So I'm gonna lay down the black first, and then the next thing is going to be a mid-tone, some kind of mid-tone, and I'm gonna go with a little bit of purple, some off purple, and I'm going to just place it next to it like that. Right? I'm placing it next to it. I'm gonna throw in a little bit in here. This part of the ear, in the middle of the ear, it's a little dark, so I'm throwing in a little. It's like a plum purple color in there. So now, to give it a little bit of volume, I'm gonna add a little bit of white in there. Not just pure white, but it's that same color with a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna go in here, just throw a little bit in there. Again, see, just like that. Now there is a highlight in the ear between these two dark pieces, so I'm gonna go in there with a little bit of white. And now you have to blend the white with the black, but you don't want to blend too much because you don't want it to you don't want to lose all the white. So you're gonna have to get a smaller brush like this, and the way I do it is I usually just go to the edge and I start dragging it up a little bit. Just dab it a little bit, drag it up. Okay, this is pretty much how I blend. You have to be real careful and it's just, you have to be real meticulous, just like that, right? So now I'm gonna try to move a little bit more towards this side over here, and again, same thing, a little bit of a lighter color, and you're gonna try to drag a little bit of the dark and get it a little bit close to the dark here, to the black, but you don't want to pull too much. You just want to touch it a little bit. You're gonna touch it a little bit, just dab it a little bit. And now that you're out of the black, solid black, now you can come in here with the white and then drag that color, that mid-tone a little bit more, drag it. Okay, so you're seeing how that went from solid black, solid white. It's just, you're just blending the colors together. So now I'm gonna try to pull the white, this white into the black a little bit, into the face, connect the ear to the face here. Being real careful to blend softly. And now I'll go ahead and come in here with some a darker color, dark purple again, and try to connect this with all this over here on this side. A lot of times I take too much time on it, try to be perfect, and I shouldn't do that, you know. A lot of times it's better to be loose and not worry so much. Just go ahead and just, you know, just add paint back and forth. But it's hard to break old habits for me. This is the way I've always done it. That's a little bit of the ear here, a little bit of how I blend. I have to do the rest of it, but I just wanted to show you a little bit of how I go about trying to blend a little bit. Alright, so here's the painting after 2 sessions. This painting was done in 2 days, maybe 10 hours per session. Just trying to see if I can come up with a little faster system of doing this type of artwork, so I don't want to spend too much time. I just want to see what I can do. And again, it was a study of Basil Gogos' work, and we just try to give it our best. Alright guys, so this is what it looks like after we use the oils on top of the acrylic, and after we take our time with it. This is almost done. This is about 90% done. What it still needs is glazes. Glazing is just a form when you get your medium, and you put a little bit of whatever color you want to use, and you thin it with the medium, and then you just give it in certain areas, you give it highlights of that color, either to push a color back or to make a color come forward. As far as, like, let's say you want this, instead of green, this area you want it more pink or more blue, you just give it a real thin layer of a glaze, and it'll come through that way. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed watching the process of how this painting was done, I have a lot of other videos that I'll be posting very soon, and it shows the same thing. It shows you how I start from the beginning all the way to the end. I have drawings and a lot of other paintings of different stuff, very similar to this pop art. I do a lot of pop art, pop culture stuff, a lot of characters from movies, cartoons. So I'll be posting a lot of that soon. So subscribe, like. If you have a comment, leave a comment. If you have a message, you can message me. I will respond to you. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.